the hot topics today. We're going to discuss our great governor, Gregg Abbott, deciding to pardon Daniel Perry, is a man who went to a Black Lives march in Austin and shot and killed a man by the name of Garrett Foster. Now, why we're going to discuss this is because Abbott has a tendency to show his stupidity. And so I'm going to open up the discussion around what Abbott has done. So, comments.
Why'd you call him great?
Oh, let me
Somebody who's great, I guess.
let me read this real quick so we can put everything in context.
Okay.
Texas has one of the strongest stand your ground laws of self-defense that cannot be nullified by a jury or progressive district attorney. Unlike the president's or some other states, the Texas Constitution limits the governor's pardon authority to only act on a recommendation by the Board of Pardons and Paroles. Texas law does allow the governor to request the Board of Pardons and Parole to determine if a person should be granted a pardon. And I have made the request, and he has made the request and instructed the board to expedite the review.
Now remember, he appoints
Yes, he appoints.
people to the board. So I guess if he says he wants it done, they're going to do it. But I think we should point out also this young man who was killed. He was engaged to a young lady who was a paraplegic, had lost her limbs in war, and
They've known each other since they were 17 years old.
yeah, and all he was doing was joining in a protest. I think it was it around George Floyd time? I think it was around that time. And now I don't know if the governor, now that a lot's come out about this guy, and I think Caleb can articulate it a little better, some of the things that this guy has been, because I know Caleb sent us all a text explaining the things that this guy's done and just how racist he is.
Yeah, no, it was it's come to light that he's had he sent out several really racist texts, and once they got a hold of his phone and went through his telephone, they found that he had been looking up sites to engage younger women, and he had fantasized about shooting black folks. He had talked about sniping black folks from the roof. He had fantasized about killing a protester. He had all kinds of just racist and degenerate fantasies and information in his telephone.
And what's happening, if you go back to Trayvon Martin, remember why that guy who shot him got off? Because he felt threatened and he'd stand your ground. And so now they're arguing that Perry felt threatened and he was just standing his ground. Right. And everyone else has said that the young kid he killed did not point his weapon at Perry. That's coming out.
The other thing that's coming out is that he drove to the BLM protest
as an Uber driver.
As an Uber driver. So it's kind of like it was kind of like premeditated,
right,
for him even being there.
And why does Perry want to pardon him? Does anybody know?
He's under pressure from the right to pardon this guy.
You think the right is doing it?
Yes.
I mean,
he's under pressure from Tucker Carlson and Fox News and.
I call that the extreme right.
The extreme right. Okay.
I'm sure that a lot of people who are. Do we define the right as conservative? How do we define the right?
Well, see, what I'm seeing here is that because I had to put some notes here, right, is that he's been getting calls to reverse that discussion about pardoning this man, because probably of all of the text messages that has come out, and his wanting to find young girls for his whatever. And so maybe some of the more reasonable Republicans and say, hey, you need to back off of this one. You need to back off of this one.
And, you know, it's comparison. I know it's extreme comparison. Is what the first lady did when she wanted to invite the white girls to the White House along with the winners who were black girls, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, she was getting call after call after call. You can't do that. And now he's getting, he runs off at the mouth. I'm going to pardon this guy, and now he's finding out more about him, and he's getting these calls. So,
but the question is, you do ask a question: why is he interested in pardoning this guy?
That's his. That's his. Oh God!
And does it make a difference?
But it's kind of like
he's going to be a lame duck, or is a lame duck, isn't he?
what's the little kid? Cal Rittenhouse. I mean, he's another he's another right wing. This guy he's another right wing darling because he killed someone at a Black Lives Matter protest.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him a right wing darling.
Their racism causes them to become irrational.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Absolutely.
And they do these things and they think about it in the sense, oh, this is not 1890.
But the thing here is, which makes it interesting, is that and maybe this is he says, well, I didn't kill a black person. I killed a white person.
Right. I don't think they see the difference.
Well, but he was at the Black Lives Matter.
Had a black girlfriend.
Had a black girlfriend. Yeah.
He had all the traits that he's not no longer one of them.
Yeah. To them, he's a race traitor. Oh yeah.
So it's just amazing that I would have never thought. And again, we're going to strive, kind of steer away from the topic, but to see some of the legislation that is coming out of I don't know, out of craziness, out of fear. I don't know, but I never thought to this day that I would see these types of behaviors, and maybe because of social media is why we're seeing it. And I can understand. Okay, I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here. Why there's a push to shut down TikTok? Because when you go to TikTok, it is becoming the highway of stating your opinion on everything. And there's been a lot of opinions shared on just this topic alone. And so we can shut down this highway of protest, then nobody would know what's going on. And maybe this stuff has been going on for a long time, but again, social media has opened our eyes to where we're seeing it more and more. Because I have not heard about, the only reason why I knew about him doing this is because I opened up my phone and saw it. I have not heard local news talking about this pardon. Have you guys?
I have. Yeah, I have. Well, not local. CNN and MSNBC have talked about it. But you talk about all this crazy legislation they're doing. You talk about what those whites did to those brothers, and they didn't do it to the white lady. That's irrational. And that's what racism takes over, and they become. If they didn't have that disease, they'd be pretty decent people. But they got that disease. It goes all the way back in their ancestors, all the way back to Europe, I guess. And it keeps going. You wonder, why can't this end? Why can't this end? We all thought maybe in the 60s, okay, it's coming to an end. No, it didn't. And now it's, you have to be irrational to elect Donald Trump.
It's
president.
because I have some black friends who believe Donald Trump is the answer. Okay? I'm saying the same thing to you, but that's why we are where we're at. It comes back to where you were talking about in the earlier segment about food and different things like that, and why blacks would buy from a white vendor versus a black vendor or whatever. These are all the things that have happened. And I am embarrassed to say that I have some very good friends who believe that Donald Trump is the Messiah.
They're irrational.
Right.
They what they do, well, here's what I think they do. They take the irrationality of white people and play on it and become part of it. I mean, this guy, Tim Scott in South Carolina.
Oh, gosh.
When he was at the...
you heard his speech about running for president?
Yeah.
And they said he did it at Fort Sumter.
Fort Sumter. Then he says, America has always been the greatest country in the world. I'm saying, my God, does he really? Look at the mirror, man. Look at the mirror. Don't you realize that your great grandparents were beat, raped, and abused? And now you're talking about this. That's that irrational. Even black people catch the disease of irrationality.
Well, I'm thinking about this show that I heard the other night. Tom Hartman. And he was explaining why the rich have this thing against democracy. And basically, he was saying that if you go back to the 60s, this is what was happening. Birth control was taken away, was allowed, civil rights movement, women starting to get a little bit more power in terms of employment, and one other thing I forgot. And so there is a belief among the rich that we've got to get this democracy under control because it's leading to people questioning our actions, because politics back in the day was only for wealthy people. But as you can see, we've got people, like yourself, Chris, who ran for political office, who I don't know if you're a millionaire or not, but I don't think you're one of us.
He's close.
He's close. Yeah. They weren't expecting people like you, like Fred, like me, like Caleb to run for office. And so they're saying we got to get these people under control. So they're trying to take back things. And we see it. Roe v. Wade, they snatched that, right? The Voting Rights Act. They're doing all kind of ways to snatch that back. Just recently, state of Texas and other states, no CRT can be taught in higher education. Trying to take that back. They're taking back. They want more control over the school books. What's in schools? They're taking that back. In fact, you got teachers now rebelling about not teaching what's in the lesson plan because it goes against what they believe children need to learn to be successful. So there's a whole lot of things going on. And based on just those elements alone, the rich says because we're allowing, we got too many people who are in the middle class. We've got too many people who are degreed. And so we got to shut this down because it's going to be violence in the streets and greater protests. So I'll send you guys the link. But the issue is that they're doing these things because of this fear of what democracy represents.
We ain't never had democracy.
Well, in their mind, what democracy represents.
When you look at democracy, and I know you're going to find this strange, it's not the best system for everybody. And if you don't look at what happened democracy only costs 51%, majority roots. So for 100 years in the South, they're passing these laws. All you needed was 51% of white people, and the minority was abused. What saves us and has saved us is the Constitution, because the Constitution says that the minority have rights that have to be protected. What the battle we're having now is that this Supreme Court is acting more based on democracy than not on the Constitution. Their job is to protect the minority against the majority. Democracy simply says majority rules. And so it's not, and I'll tell you a person who really pointed that out was Dr. King. The dangers of a democracy. I'm not saying any other government's better, but let's stop thinking democracy is the best thing in the world for us. And I really believe it was the Constitution. So,
and they're trying to strip away those amendments too.
And I have to say to the Republicans, I really admire them from a strategy standpoint. They have systematically done and put us in the position where we are. When I say we, I'm talking about all of America, or I'm talking about also black folks. They have done this to put these people into the Supreme Court. They've done this to be able to put those people into the legislature, both on a local standpoint and on a national standpoint and at the state. They have taken methodically over years. And to me, this began with, what was the guy who had the contract with America from Atlanta? Newt Gingrich, right, right.
Reagan said that the government, in his inaugural address, the government was not the problem, it was democracy.
I never heard that, but okay.
But I tell you what, I'm gonna make all y'all mad.
Okay, good.
So, no. Oh, no. But you know what? It's if you go back and you look at you take about Obamacare, for example. Every single Republican loves each individual provision. Do you want to keep your kids on after 18? Yeah, I love that. Do you want to have expanded Medicaid or Medicaid? Yeah, I love that. So every single individual provision, they love it. If you look at what happened during the recent election, and every state where Roe was on the ballot, the state voted to keep Roe, basically. So they love the Democratic policies. They just don't like the way it's presented to them. And so you can't go around telling people that they're stupid. You can't.
Fred.
And no, I didn't say that. So my point is, it's the way the Democrats talk to people.
Right.
And it's the way they view people. And they can't go around like elitists saying it's our way or you're dumb.
Well, you know.
I knew you were going to get mad at me.
Did you hear the way that one member of the House in Tennessee talked to that brother?
Yes.
I understand that, but see, the leaders know. The leadership, they know, and they're playing on the race card, and they're playing on people's fears. These people get their news from Tucker Carlson, basically, and so.
Well, that's not the difference.
No. I'm talking about the Republicans,
Yeah.
And so it's easy for the leadership and the people in power to manipulate the masses, because that's the only place they get their information from. The Republican masses. That's the only place they get their information from. But if you have to have Democrats that go out there and talk to these folks, that speak their language and that talk to them in their language. You can't go out there. I keep saying this. You gotta get out of Bed Bath & Beyond and go to Tractor Supply.
Well, then you're asking Democrats to do what the Republicans do, make people irrational in their behavior.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Nowhere did I say
Because
that. I said go talk to
do
them.
what they do.
I said
The people-
meet them where they're at and talk to them.
But you got meeting them where they're at is irrational.
No. You go out
Does it
there.
make sense? Does it make sense
Yes.
for white poor folks to vote Republican?
No.
You know why?
No.
You know why they do it? It's because you have one party who is talking above them and talking at them like they're children, and you have another party that's actually listening to them. They have an abused wife syndrome. This is what it is. I'm gonna tell you what.
okay.
At least the Republicans are listening. They may beat the shit out of me, but at least they're listening to me.
Okay.
They have an abused wife
I
syndrome.
have to disagree.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Republicans play down to that irrational, that disease, man. That disease that's out there.
How
And
do you
all
break
they
it?
have to do is say, look at those in people, and look what they're doing. They're marching. Oh my God, look at that. Oh, they're terrible. And they play to that.
Right, but you break it.
Look at all the thieves and
You
gangsters
break
are
that
black.
with information. You break bad information with good information.
Well, let me say this. Can I say I agree with both of you?
No, you can't.
No, pick a side. Get off the fence. You know?
I think that what you say, Caleb, brings up some good points. But at the same time, with what you're saying, I think is very true. And we've got to figure out how we can talk better to people, okay? But we can't. I think your point, Fred, was about how we should not cater to those far right people.
To that mentality that's
Right.
been out there for centuries.
No, I'm not
They
saying
taught-
cater to it.
they
I'm saying
taught
counter
white
it.
folks that the worst person in the world is a black person.
Right. And
And that's-
you're better than them.
No, what I'm saying, no.
All you had to do-
What
all
I'm
you had to do
saying
was
is
teach
this.
them to use the word in.
So how do we loop this back to our great governor, Gregg Abbott?
I'll let you do it.
I don't know how to talk to him. He has his mind made up. He's got the power. And he, I guess it's, I'm governor, what I say goes.
Well, I guess it gets to what our guest said, voting. And everything comes back to voting, right? If we would have think of what we could do in this state if we had a coalition, all blacks get out to vote, all Hispanics get out to vote, and all white liberals get out to vote, we could dominate this state.
Well, what did Beto had decided to leave?
That's not enough.
He says that, we weren't ready for him.
That's not going to be enough.
Well, because to me, the psychological job has not been done. I think it all gets to that disease, and we buy into that disease.
I think you have to counter. You have the elite who are controlling and putting out different disinformation and using racism. And I think what you have to do, that you have to counter that narrative by getting out there and just talking to folks.
Okay, we're about out of time for our topic. You want closing?
My closing remarks are really has nothing to do too much with what we've talked about, but it's how to deal with what we've talked about. Those people, if you don't have an app on your phone called 5 Calls, and what made me think about this is when Sharon said, I don't know how to deal with the governor. And if we don't do anything else but maybe call the office and voice our concern, then that's what we do. And in addition to that, you can call the people in Tennessee, you can call those people or whatever, whoever those representatives are, and that 5 Calls app will do it for you. So go to your app store, go to your Play Store, download 5 Calls, and be able to use that.
Okay. Doctor.
This has been an interesting day for all of us. Flight of farmers, crazy governor. What more can you say? We are in a state, we black folks need a State of the Union address. And it kind of goes back to what Chris has been saying. We need a leader to give us the State of the Black Union.
Okay. Mr. Cater.
Okay. So as far as black farmers, it is something that we all need to care about. It's something that we need to get engaged about. Land is something that's tangible, and it's probably one of the foundations of building reconstructing true black economics. And so it's something that we all need to be worried about. And as far as we need to be worried about the discriminatory policies of the USDA, because it's not just one agency. Trust me, if it's in the USDA, it's multiple agencies with multiple people involved. And so we definitely need to be mindful of that, keep a watchful eye of that, and we need to definitely get engaged and to do everything we can to save the black farmers. As far as Abbott goes, he remains an idiot. The idea that you're going to pardon someone who it's another attack on democracy. The jury has decided this man was guilty, and they are trying to overturn the rule of law. The jury of his peers has spoken. They're trying to. It's a blatant disregard of the separation of powers. You have the court system that is ruled and decided, and so it's just like I said. It's another attempt to disregard democracy. So we definitely need to be mindful of that. This man was he murdered someone, and I can't go in your yard and stand my ground in the middle of your front yard. So you can't drive to a protest armed and claim stand your ground with that. And so the governor, again, he's interfering with the judicial system, which is out of the executive branch's purview. And so again, we need to make our voices heard on that issue as well.
Okay. Thank you all. As usual, a lively discussion. And we will be back. Oh, before I do that, our hats are off to Carl Booker, who makes all this possible. Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Carl.
Thank you, Carl.
And Carl's a
Yes,
dictator,
Carl.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
He's a dictator. Over us. So anyway, we're going to close out now. Contemporary Black Voices telling our story, our way.